I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Thursday, June the 8th, brought to you in part by Vitalix. Vitalix has multiple options for controlling and repelling the fly population in your herd. Get the blue tub, go to Vitalix.com. Also, our punchy pick contest is always going on. If you guys get a punchy pick out there, you've seen the results that we give you at the end of every month. If you get a cool punchy pick, send it to punchy@nationalbeefwire.com. The grand prize is great every month, including a whole case of Fair Peace, which is a revolutionary product, and getting a lot of people calling back telling us about how well it's working for them, especially on light unweaned calves that they're getting started and they go right to eating. Guys, get a case of that, and you also get some really cool swag from Beaver Feed in Beaver, Oklahoma, and Beaver County Stockyards there in Beaver, Oklahoma also. The board Balks, I've been talking all week here about how the boards kind of just went along with cash, and cash is gaining new ground and new records all the time, and the board's been not really keeping up, but kind of trailing close behind there. Of course, your feeder cattle board is out in front, but it's kind of been agreeing with it and going right along, which is unusual because it seems like the board's always going in opposite directions of your cash. But on Wednesday, we saw the board open up and with gains like we've been seeing, and then all of a sudden just a whipsaw reversal and went big sell-off and went down big. And you think, oh my God, what does the board know that we don't know out in the fundamental cash market? Nothing. Like I've told you guys many times before, your cattle futures are just shallow. They don't have a lot of play in them. And we've seen big gains over the last couple of weeks in your live cattle, and we've seen a lot of profit taking here. Guys are cashing in on that. They think, well, we're getting in here. There wasn't much basis there, and they think, well, we've gotten all the good out of that. So we saw people taking their profits, the guys that were speculating on the long side, and then at the same time, we saw guys that are buying these high feeder cattle, and they're thinking, gosh, I better get a hold of something, even if it's not completely covering me. Maybe there'll be a basis again whenever those cattle are ready, and saw a lot of hedging going on. So that's why you had the big sell-off, the last part of the session on Wednesday. But it didn't really affect your cash markets at all. Because we can't pay attention to that, and you can't turn the cash market around on a dime like you can your futures markets, like they do, just back and forth. And then you got the algorithms that come in there and they see a little bit of play one way and then they just run way by it, and we saw the results of that on Wednesday big time. Your CME daily livestock report was pretty interesting on Wednesday. Come out with cattle imports, and through April of this year, January, February, March, and April, we saw our cattle imports were up 9%, and all of that was pretty much Mexico, because Canada was actually a little bit lower in their imports, and those are pretty much the only places we get any live cattle imports is from our closest neighbors there, Canada and Mexico. But Canada's in the middle of really tight supplies just like we are, and their markets are elevated, and they're getting along really well with their markets up there. But down in Mexico, they're going through some severe drought right now, especially in the northern states in Mexico. So, and then they're seeing the market that we've got up here, especially in the southern plains. They're seeing that close by, and they're bringing the cattle over. But it was up 9%, just our general cattle imports. But like I said, it was mostly all Mexico. And in the month of April, your imports from Mexico totaled up to be 91,400 head. That's up 45% over a year ago. So getting a lot of cattle coming up from Mexico, and I've said many times, a lot of your Texas feeders especially, they would rather have those Mexico cattle than they would cattle that they can get from anywhere else. Of course, the northern plains cattle are way too high in their opinion, and the cattle that maybe several years ago they would get mostly out of the southeast, they have a hard time keeping those cattle alive. So they are buying those Mexico cattle, and it's mostly your big corporate feeders that are aligned with their packers, and they feed those Mexico cattle, and they don't take any discount at all whenever they sell those Mexico cattle fat. And it's mostly the guys that have those good sweetheart formula deals that can sell those Mexican fed cattle to your major four packers there, and they don't really take any discount at all, if any. But the Southern Plains guys got to stay hooked with the market. We've seen quite a bit of trade already this week in the Northern Plains, and it's higher. Southern Plains has really not gotten going good yet. We see some Kansas trade on Wednesday, 183 to 184. Of course, that's $3 to $4 higher, and I'm sure there was more of it than what was confirmed on Wednesday afternoon. But Texas has really not gotten going yet. But you know, guys, stay hooked in there. Don't let that board worry you. It's just going to give you a little bit better basis there than what you'd have had earlier on Wednesday. But let's look at your board on Wednesday. June live cattle futures down 82 cents after all the smoke cleared at 179. August down 230 at 173.20, and I told you guys we're going to run into some pressure in July because we don't have a July contract. We're going to go off to that August, and we're probably going to lose some footing there. But all your back months were down big, down 217 to down 282. August feeder cattle were really down hard, down 415 at 239.10, but that is such a big premium to the already elevated cash levels that we see on our index values that you know, that's not that big a deal to us. But maybe some of you guys wish you dallied up to that when it was higher. But down 415 at 239.10 for August feeder cattle, that still sounds pretty good. September was down 4 1/4 at 242.27 premium to your August. Back months were all down big on feeder cattle futures, down 272 to down 427. Look at your corn. New crop December corn down 10 1/4 cent at 5.30 3/4 cents a bushel. November new crop beans down 6 1/4 at 11.78 Kansas City hard red winter wheat for July down 32 1/4 cent. Ouch. All of your ag commodities were down big. But Kansas City hard red winter wheat ended regular trading on Wednesday at 7.88. Fat cattle trade, like I told you, we started to get going a little bit more in the Northern Plains. It's all higher. Southern Plains is yet to really get going yet. But Iowa had confirmed sales of 8,000 head on Wednesday, 19,100 head for the week already. Your live sales range from 188 to 191. Mostly 190, you know, and that spread, that 188 to 191 is $5 higher there. Dress sales were 295 to almost entirely $3 a pound dressed in the beef there, $8 to $10 higher than last week. Nebraska 10,700 head confirmed on Wednesday, 15,700 head for the week. Live sales in Nebraska ranged from 188 to 194. Yes, we saw 194 for current delivery to a regional there. We saw your northern packers really trying to get people to sell them cattle out front. They're wanting to get a foothold, guys, so they can keep this runaway market in check. But you know, you got to keep making them take those cattle within the next 2 weeks. They're going to want them anyway, and they probably will take them. But don't let them go way out in July and start putting cattle together. Dress sales in Nebraska from $298 to $300.50, but mostly $3 for the most part. Kansas, just 700 head confirmed. I feel like there was probably more than that after the 2 o'clock deadline, but 183 to 184, and that's $3 to $4 higher. And they did have some $3 dressed in Kansas. Most of that's all in northern Kansas, guys. Texas, only 300 head sold at 180, which was last week's market. That did not establish the market in Texas. Feel like they should still get, $2, $3, $4 more at least. You just got to stay hooked, guys. Box beef cutout values were up again sharply, not quite as sharply as they were up on Tuesday, but choice cuts up $3.79 at $325.19. Selects up $2.12 at $301.56. Your slaughter through the first 3 days of the week, 370,000. I can't really compare it with the holiday week last week, but that's 4,000 less than the same week a year ago. Talk about what else is going on. Livestock Risk Services, that's your LRP specialist there, headed up by Dakota Moss, and then you see all these other agents that he works with. They can help you out with your LRPs. They can answer your questions for the most part, and I know you guys got questions about it. Doesn't cost anything to get a hold of them and ask questions, and they can also help you out with any of the other livestock policies or even crop insurance. Talk about your feeder cattle market. Your real-time index on DV auction based on an 800-pound cash auction steer up to the middle 12 states ended the day on Wednesday at 223.41, gaining another $1.65 despite everything that went on with the board backing way off there late in the session. But like I said, you can't turn things around on a dime. Your late sales and your big auctions were still smoky higher, and we seen some prices that I just never thought I'd ever see. When I get to the top quote of the day, you guys aren't going to believe it either. But talk about your big high volume sale on Wednesday, which is El Reno, OKC West there in El Reno, Oklahoma. DV auction broadcaster. You can view and bid their sales the first 3 days of the week, every week. 9,800 head for the 2-day sale with a light run of calves on Tuesday, and then about 8,000 yearlings on Wednesday. Feeder steers sharply higher, as much as $15 higher. Of course, we expected that. That's what we've been seeing all week. Feeder heifers $6 to $12 higher. A lighter run of calves were fully steady with the big gains that they saw last week at their sale. But El Reno was your national beef wire stick-out sale of the day. They had, you look at this automated market report through Cattle Market Central, and you see a good test on your yearling weights. And like I said, on Wednesday, that's what they sell, is your big feeder cattle. And so you don't pay any attention to the weights that aren't really tested there on the lighter end. They were tested on Tuesday, but not nearly as much as your big feeders on Wednesday. 1,152 head of 7-weight steers in El Reno, averaged 749 with a weighted average price of $228.70. 1,734 head of 8-weight steers in El Reno on Wednesday. They averaged 844 pounds with a weighted average price on all of them, the good, bad, and the ugly, of $217.10. 909 head of 9-weight feeder steers in El Reno, Oklahoma, average $953, average price $206.51. How about some heifers? 1,216 head of 6-weight heifers in El Reno, average $658, weighted average price $225.96, and 1,189 head of 7-weight heifers in El Reno, average 758 pounds with a weighted average price of $209.74. I'm coming to you from Arcadia, Florida area. I'm at the LMA, Livestock Marketing Association's conference there, and the World Champion Livestock Auctioneer Contest that's going to be held here on Saturday at Arcadia Livestock. And looking forward to visiting with everybody. Didn't get in till really late on Wednesday, but it's always a good conference there. I got a booth here with DV Auction, going to be visiting with a lot of sale barn owners and hopefully picking up some new broadcasters and some more guys to contribute into Cattle Market Central so that I can give you all these quotes every day on the feeder flash. But I usually give my pick, who I think has the best chance to win the World Champion Livestock Auctioneer Contest, and I'm going to go with my friend Sisto Paez from Portales, New Mexico. I've got a lot of friends. Most of the guys in it are my friends, and I'm rooting for all of them. But my pick, I think, is Sisto. I tell you what, he is wrapping really good right now, selling a lot more cow sales than what he sold in recent years. But how about some individual quotes from all around the circuit? How about Winter Livestock in Dodge City, Kansas? They had a lighter run, just 1,700 head for them, and the market on the light test was 15 to 25 bucks higher. Wow. Including this stick-out sale I saw from Dodge City, 73 head, 671 pound steers bring 278. How about, and they're selling them high everywhere, guys. Even down near the Boot Hill of Missouri. I give you a lot of top quotes out of Missouri. Most of them are north of the river, or at least in the central part of the state. You get down into the southern Missouri, especially going east, and they don't typically sell cattle that high, but Farmington Regional Stockyards, that's a DV auction broadcaster there, good guys there, and they're having special sales. They're doing a good job. They had a really good sale on Wednesday in Farmington, Missouri, and it was the Weber home raised steers. They were black and Charolais cross that really topped the market there. 58 head of them, weighed 888 at 212 and a quarter near the Boot Hill of Missouri, guys. How about Cherokee Sales Company in Cherokee, Oklahoma? They sell 197 steers, weighed 806 at 241 and a quarter at Cherokee. Good sale for them. But now I'm coming to your top quotes for the day, and they come out of Creighton, Nebraska. They had a perfect storm there. Farmer feeders in the crowd, top quality cattle, and my gosh, did they sell. How about the Kruger steers there? 234 head of them, weighed 941 at 237.50. But that wasn't your Macrocin top quote for the day. Now I'm going to give it to you. It was in Creighton, Nebraska. The Lazy J steers, non-program. They'd even been implanted and backgrounded in a lot, guys. 261 head of them, weighed 1056 at 226.75, or dang near 2,400 bucks a head. And that's your feeder flash for Thursday.